Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome to the review. Today we're taking a look at the TalonGames Rinne, which is a very nice anime themed cloth mousepad that's actually been getting quite a bit of attention lately. I've heard quite a few people compare this to the Pulsar PD170, which is very popular nowadays. And after taking a look at this pad, I wanted to share my own thoughts and see how close that comparison actually is. So starting off with the design, I think TalonGames absolutely nailed this artwork. I mean, it just looks pretty good. It's clean, the colors really pop without being, distracting, and if you're someone who really likes like anime setups without it being like a bit too much and you want a little bit more personality than just a plain pad, this definitely stands out. These colors are very saturated. It's kind of giving that washed look as well, with no stitches being in the way of the artwork as well, which is really nice. And personally, I think the pad looks really good on the desk. So going over to the specifications of this pad, it measures in 490 by 420 millimeters and is around 4 millimeters thick. So it's a little bit thicker than most pads. So you got plenty of room for, low sensitivity games. And TalonGames describes this surface as TalonGames Japanese ultrafine microwave fabric. Instead of using stitched edges, it also uses a seamless edgeless design, which, just looks beautiful. It's also something that, I've preferred because it just feels very smooth and it's not annoying if you're playing without an arm sleeve during longer sessions. And it just feels very satisfying on your skin in the long run. And going over to the base, it is using this hexagon, very spongy, and it grips really good on the desk. Once I put it down, I've never really had to adjust it. The first thing I noticed when I started using it was just how smooth the surface actually feels. It has this very slick feeling to it, and it's not rough whatsoever, and the X and Y glide feels very consistent. So I've never really noticed the mouse behaving differently depending on the direction I was moving. It's definitely one of the smoother cloth surfaces I've used. And in terms of speed, I'd actually describe this as a slower control orientated mousepad. It has a really controlled glide and quite a bit of stopping power, especially if you're like putting pressure to stop your mouse. And because the sponge is like fairly soft, pushing into the pad gives you a little bit more control when making, those small adjustments or stopping your crosshair. And personally, I think this is one of the biggest strengths with this pad. And if we compare it to the, PD170, I can definitely see why people compare these two pads. They share a very similar overall feeling, but I say Rinne is just a little bit slower. The PD170 just glides a bit easier, and whereas this one just gives you a lot more control and stopping power. So if you've used the PD170 before, I'd expect this one to, feel similar, but just slightly more controlled. And one thing I did notice is that the skate choice makes a very big difference with this pad. When I paired this pad with slower control dot skates like UPE control skates, it actually started to feel a little bit too muddy for my liking. So personally, I'd recommend pairing this pad with something faster that really balances out this surface and makes it a lot more enjoyable. It's not gonna be like annoying for control on control and just gonna be like muddy in the long term. And the same goes for arm sleeves. And since the surface is already really smooth, I found these sleeves like the Kibo arm sleeve worked especially well since they just glide effortlessly across it. And something like the Midori V2 still works, but personally I prefer the feeling of the Kibo since it's just like a lot more smoother. It's not gonna be that comfortable with the Midori arm sleeve on this pad if I'm gonna be honest. So if you're someone who just really likes fast control pads, I honestly don't think this pad would be for you. But if you're looking for something with a lot more control and consistent stopping power and a really smooth surface, I think TalonGames did a really good job with this pad. It's especially nice if you're, using pressure to slow your mouse down naturally while aiming. Overall, I came away pretty impressed with this pad with the Rinne. I think TalonGames managed to, combine really clean artwork with premium build quality and control focus surface into a, you know, package with a lot of things that generally just is a different from a lot of cloth pads I've tested. And it's also a really good alternative if you're looking for that PD170 but a little bit more control. My only real recommendation would be pairing this one with, you know, slightly faster skates, because slower control skates, it can feel a little bit muddy. Other than that, I think if you're looking for a slower control oriented mousepad with really premium feel, I think this one is definitely worth checking out. I also want to give a quick thank you to Max Gaming for sending me this review unit out, and it's available there if you want to buy it for around 60 euros, which is, you know, around the same price tag as the PD170, but the PD170 is usually out of stock, so, you know, this one is a very good alternative. But yeah, other than that, thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next review. Peace.